What's your memory of Manny himself? Would you be aware of would he go out to the board and pick one thing off the board and then go do it as well? Was he kind of doing that, or is it always just rules and feeders, just tweaking that to?
No, he will pick things. But he will work himself.
So was he pretty good? I mean,
he's a good developer.
Was he a good programmer as well? Well, I'm just saying.
Glad you said that.
I'm just saying. You never know. Well, no. I mean, okay. Sorry. Maybe we'll cut that. I think
No. Manny is a fantastic developer.
I thought you were about to say no. Jose was twice as good as Manny or something like that. He was all right, but
Well, I would say the four of us. I would say I'm probably the least of the developers.
The least.
Yeah, Manny is.
You're just being humble, man. Yeah. So he was quite quick as well. Then he'd get stuff done as quick as anyone.
He's quick.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, Manny entrusted us. I don't know if he would done that for everybody. We are a team of a small team, but he always said, we need a few good hands, not many hands, but really good hands.
Yeah.
He actually, treated us that way.
It's kind of like a TM1 system building on top of TM1 as well. So you don't want too many hands building.
Well,
TIs.
You can mess up things pretty badly if you want to, right? So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Manny always say you don't want too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, but if you look at the tool again, it's a simple tool. It doesn't require too many hands.
Yeah.
So today, if you were to build TM1 again in a regular corporate environment, they'll put 30 people to work on it, and
they have,
and they will create a whole mess. I'm sure. Yeah. But it doesn't require that because it's simple. Conceptually, it's very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get used to the inner work.
Is there anything that you guys would say you kind of regret about what was built? Is there anything in there when you kind of look at it you wince and go, oh, I wish we had done that different, or we should have taken more time, or did you always get the time you wanted in the end?
With time it happens. Well, I mean I think I said that to you yesterday, something like that when I went to a transition and did some consulting and management, all that. And when I went back to development and kind of relearning all the new patterns and all the new things that were coined after the 2000s, and things like event sourcing and secure AS and all that, which were things that we use in TM1 without giving a name, right? I kind of relate, and say, hey, we use all of that, but now that it's more kind of structured, official, more like well understood. Maybe we could have done it, kind of closing some of the gaps that were kind of identified over time.
Because you were pioneering all of that stuff for the first time.
Yeah. I mean, maybe to make it more conforming to the kind of the
standard. Well, there were no standards.
Yeah, there were no standards, but
I'm not quite in that camp. I mean, I think to me that we really had a severe shortage of resources. So the things that's kind of could have done better is the things that we even know what to do. It's just never got the time. Right. I mean, for example, we're talking about rep and sync, right? The conceptually, the backend is actually all done, but it just never had time to build a proper UI. So the people would know how to set up replication and what does the synchronization mean, and how do you then set up synchronization and how to schedule it. We know what needs to be done. It's just a UI thing. Underneath, it's actually proper. I mean, I don't know about performance in today's standard, but it needs proper. But we never get an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I think the question is kind of unfair. It's not like you should have done it a different way. It's like with time, things evolve, and there is now you know that there is a better way to do it because there are new tools and new knowledge and new, so knowing what we know today, maybe we would have done it in a different way, but
there was no way.
there is no way we knew that.
It just seems like there's so many things that you guys got right back then, and it's like, it seems like unbelievable in a way, right? Like it seems like it must be luck to some degree to get so many things right. Like, because if you imagine, like, well, we never quite figured out the feeders thing or whatever. It like just wouldn't be quite as good today. Maybe it's not as persistent and sticky in customers, and you never know all these. It's like the 10 things that add up to this, like how awesome it is, right? It's like hard to.
Oh yeah.
Nothing else has got all those 10
considering
things.
Well, there are a lot
everything
of,
else in the in the world that you build, TM1.
It still beats everything. Right?
Worked out pretty well. I mean,
well,
of
there
course
were a lot of
mistakes,
everything come out. There are a
Still
lot
working.
of trial and errors, right? We're talking about the module spreading. I mean, we did have customers that's kind of like, they are very brave, just went up to production right away, and they just deadlocked, and it's in their planning season or their financial season, end of the year, and they're just deadlocked, and then we had to solve their problem right there. I mean, we did solve it, but still the customer had a lot of headaches. It's not like so it comes out right. It's the basic principle. I don't think we got it wrong, but there's a lot of little things we have to mature. And to get the details right.
Evolve with time.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's not the tool. It's the what the things that you build with that tool, and your customers can are basically the proof that TM1 works because.
Yeah, well, that's all that matters in the end, is
Yeah.
people actually use it and get value out of it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's just a thought experiment kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It solved your problem better than anything else. So
I think partners, like you guys and Riverwood, Breakaways, and
Do you see a difference there? Because I guess from where we stand, it seems like what's interesting about TM1, I don't know how unique it is that so much of the understanding of the tool and how to implement it is within the partner community globally, whereas it's a lot of software vendors, maybe Cognos for example, a lot of it actually Cognos had that capability in themselves, for example.
Sure.
Whereas so much of it was sort of distributed out to the partners.
Well,
and
if
maybe
you
that's
think
because
about
Manny
it,
was just doing it by himself for so long and had just was teaching a lot of people out in the
well,
partner line to do it. I don't
we're
know.
teaching. I mean, many in particular, but I think the key is that we understand the core principle.
Yeah.
Right. We are not really the keepers of this. People's how they use it, business logic.
Yeah.
I mean, they apparently have domain knowledge, or partners has they serve their customers. They know a lot of things that why people are doing certain things certain way, right?
Yeah.
So I'll give you the example. Like when we had a problem when I had to go to Australia, and they had a problem, and they had they crashed the client, crashed the TM1 perspectives, and they had 6 months going back and forth with us. Back then there's no internet, so it's just email back and forth or the phone calls. And they couldn't figure out. And you know what it is? So I went there, I just asked her, I think there was this young lady using it. I said, just show me how to use it. The only thing she's doing different is that she do a slice on one sheet, then open a new slice, then do a slice. Instead of everything, just do one slice, and then do a recalc. So this is all she did. And that's just not something how we tested. So this is knowledge that you cannot possibly just infer.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the customers and partners that they will know.
Yeah. Doesn't that make it hard to test? I mean, I've heard this before, from the TM1 product managers over the years. They just go it's impossible to test everything that somebody might do with this because there's just there's an infinite number of ways of using this tool, right? So there's always somebody's finding some weird function in Excel that does something crazy with TM1 together, whatever.
Yeah, we couldn't test all the possibilities, but I think with the internet, now you don't have to travel. People can quickly show you what they're doing.
Yeah, right.
And that's not to say we can prevent any problem from happening, but at least they can quickly understand how it happens, and you can come to a resolution. So yeah, it's gotten a lot easier, I think. Yeah.
Hey, we're running out of time here, but we haven't talked about spreading. Is data spreading a big deal for you to implement? Because like when it first came out, it was.
It's a very
it's
big
well,
deal for customers.
Yeah, data
And
spreading
for
was it was one of those things that people were trying to come up with some definition of what they wanted for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And then Manny one day say, okay, I'm gonna define it, and then he sat down, I think, with us, and
Well,
he said, this is how you do it.
yeah. See, they're
Right.
I think customers are trying to do it. They're trying to do it on the client side.
Yeah.
Right, and I remember we had the conversation. Many fundamentally said this is something that belongs to the server side,
Yeah.
because you can much more efficiently do it. And
Do it in
we,
the engine, you mean?
yeah, in the engine, yeah. And we also discussed how to do the hold, how to do the consolidation hold.
Yeah.
And so, once you had this, you have to do it in the engine, and you needed to satisfy all this requirement. And actual implementation is not that complicated.
No, the implementation wasn't that complicated.
Yeah, there's a lot of UI, little more UI work.
Yeah.
On the server side, I think one
So
challenge
that was
was
easy spreading in the end. Yeah, you just bang that out in an afternoon or something like that, and
Well, it took a little longer than that, but,
Well, it took-
but fundamentally, Roger will appreciate this.
Two
We
afternoons.
already know how to traverse the tree.
Yeah.
Basically, when you are talking about the spreading, let's say I want to put a bunch of value in different places, either just for every single cell put a value, or naturally grow it, or proportional depend on where you have value. We already know how to traverse the tree. All we have to do is that come up with a total and redistribute. So it's really pretty easy.
some simple math.
Yeah,
and
the
then
server
just-
side
yeah.
is pretty easy. The UI side, there's I think there's a bunch of details, but yeah, I mean,
Right.
you guys do a lot of those, so you know how to build that. That's doable. Yeah, but it's tremendously useful for the customers.
Yeah. It kind of just shows how powerful TM1 is. I think it's just another.
Well, I think probably from your point of view, the user point of view, shows that it does, right? But on my end, the appreciation is more about you listen to the customer, then you generalize to say this is really what all the customer want. So it's kind of like, it's a pretty neat, right?
It is pretty neat, yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're saying that Manny just kind of said, this is the way you're going to do it, like, what,
No,
you,
no, we
you've
had
kind of gotten like
discussion.
random
no,
discussions
I
about what
know,
people
we have
wanted, and
discussions.
Manny just had
No,
thought
we had
about it? or-
discussions.
No,
Okay,
we had
that's
discussions.
not not
Okay.
just us. The product management, they did come in with requirement, because
Yeah.
different users have different requirement. So there was already under
That was
Applex,
version 8, wasn't it?
Version
Spreading
8, yeah,
came out?
version 8. And there's also team in, the people in Westboro participated in the conversation, because there was a lot of people really wanted.
Yeah, it was an
Yeah.
important sales feature, let's put it that way. To be able to show that in a sales
It's-
demo was really important back then.
It's really useful, right?
Yeah.
We used to have something called like a wipe, or it's the
Yeah, wipe.
equivalent.
Clear. Yeah, you just clear the data through the cell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have
That
things
one I
like
remember.
that before, but that one just went a step further. Now, speaking of which, this is kind of irrelevant. When I was working with the predict team, we did forecasting through statistics, through the statistical tools, right?
Yeah?
So I had suggested to the, I guess it's the planning analytic team, that my point of view, the better integration is that we just allow it to spread using that computation. I think they did not buy it.
Really, you just use the spreading mechanism to
Well,
put
you
the end
just
result
spread,
of
right
the...
now you can right click to say proportional spreading, right? Or just fill up with ones or whatever.
Yeah.
Just have another one to spread according to what the statistics tells you.
Any formula.
Well,
Any
the
function,
basically underneath
any
is doing the
function.
AI,
Yeah,
based on it's doing the time series, doing the computation for you.
you can
and spread for you.
You can potentially spread any function.
Sure.
Yeah. Right. They did build something, but what they're doing is that they have a service outside, and they're actually the clients talking to and getting data. I think you guys had some other AI capabilities or statistical capabilities.
Yeah, well, these days, like, I guess Python's a big deal, right? So we've,
Yeah.
like, you know, one of our consultants, Marius, he's built a wrapper around the REST API called TM1Py, and
I see.
which is exposed Python to, like, there's just like tons of Python programmers out there now
Right.
who now can use TM1
But do you
in
do
their
anything with the
applications.
data generated by Python to pump it back into TM1, you guys?
Sometimes, yeah. 'Cause so there's some data science-y kind of libraries out there that you can use, but it's also in the cloud era. There's a lot of Python libraries that allow you to connect to some data source
team,
and create data and bring
The
it
team
in.
Jose and I were in before we get pulled back to TM1 was a predict analytic team for
Yeah.
Watson. So
Right.
it's a bunch of data scientists
Yeah, right.
and plus some engineers.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's, we did the, so the forecasting I was talking about is actually using the statistical methods, right?
Yeah.
And so it's internal, basically, our own engine. They build their own engine to do the predictions.
It's
and
internal in TM1. You
not
embed it
internal
in
into
TM1.
TM1.
Yeah, okay.
We were part of the team that built a service to serve
Right.
Cagnos.
Got it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a service. It's called Predict service. It can do like a spiral chart, decision trees, forecasting, things like that.
Okay.
But we did build it so that the planning analytics team can use it for the forecasting.
Okay. Maybe we got like just a couple minutes here before you have to go. I mean, any like final memories of Manny that you want to share while we're talking about it? Like anything, you know, any particular time or anything you remember about him that we haven't talked about?
I remember one of the things when I got there was, I just came from Cuba and started working on a corporate in America and with this guy, this big product and software and everything. And it's a little bit intimidating, right? And
Sure. Yeah.
one of the things with Manny was always, he's Cuban too, so he was always throwing any joke or things. And I remember right at the beginning, I did something and I needed one of this. Or whatever I was doing would have been done better with one of this. It's saving there or something.
Yeah.
And I didn't have one, I didn't ask for one. And I was talking to him and I said, well, he said, what? He said, why did you put it in a floppy disk? And I said, well, I don't have one. He said, well, why didn't you ask for one? What did he say? He said, niño que no mama no, what? Niño que no llora no mama. So, baby that doesn't cry doesn't get fed. That's one of those things
Right.
that
Okay.
that was one of those things that I heard my grandma,
Yeah.
right? Those saying that I heard my grandmother say, and to me to just come to the United States and be working on this place and hear that from that guy, I was like, okay.
Yeah, I remember he was disconnected from Cuba for a lot of years, right? And he was living in Jersey, and the Cuban folk was kind of lost on him for some time. So I remember when I came in, I brought in a lot of Cuban folk, like out of Cuba, and every time I said something that he remembered from his childhood, he will laugh and say, "Oh, there's so many years I didn't hear that thing." Oh,
Yeah,
and
right.
he'll laugh.
Yeah, but to me it was very, just really felt good to hear that. It felt, that I was in a friendly place, with this
Felt
guy.
like home, kind of.
Yeah, he was invented this thing, and he was a very smart guy and everything. But still, he was, like everybody have said before, he was very simple and very humble.
Very humble. Yeah.
Very humble. He would just keep it simple. Doesn't matter how successful you are in this life, you try to keep it simple.
Yeah, I think that's why he's got such a massive legacy and fan base out there too, just in the customers too. Like the people who met him all just have undying respect for him after they've met him, once.
Yeah.
So when he came to our conferences and stuff, like people were just like flocking to him. They loved having him there.
I think that, there's so many things, the memories many, the humbleness, the all that. But to me, I think I just miss because I get to spend a lot of time with him. We're almost going for lunch almost like every day.
Yeah.
and I had took a lot of trip with him. We're driving to Massachusetts. And the reality is that at some point we just get to a point that we can drive for a couple hours, nobody saying anything, and so both are very, very comfortable.
Yeah, and it was fun.
And so there's a understanding that he's very, very honest. It's very trusting. So it's very comfort level. It's hard to come by. Especially for people who are very smart and accomplished, they often do something to make you score under your skin, uncomfortable or whatever. And he never had that. I think everybody experienced that. It's not unique, to me in any ways. Yeah. But it is, you can trust him. He's very loyal, and but yet it's you feel totally comfortable. Yeah.
Nice one. Okay.
Yeah, and he was honest. I think that's the key word, right? That you feel that from day one that he understood that you make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Nobody has all the answers, and it's just trial and error and trial again until you get it right. and he will expect nothing more from you. I mean, it's do whatever you have to do, the best you can do it.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to number one, I understand everything you have to do, and I have your back, and I understand you're gonna make mistakes, and it's fine.
I
it's
think
all the being in touch with reality, right? Not asking what unfortunately, you get today from many managers that they ask you things that they don't understand. Yeah. And gets to places that's probably why you have so many issues in the industry, right? Because you don't get that type of honesty in the work, in the everyday work, right?
We all know. As the person said, many can't tell a lie. He just can't. I think it probably has to do with the Catholic upbringing. He's actually shy. He's, oftentimes he wore, a red face. He cannot tell a lie. We all know. It's amazing. He's quite amazing. But I sort of work under him. He gives you a lot of an attitude, both in terms of your individual contribution, or if you manage things, how you want to see things go. He's never there to interfere. So this is pretty amazing because you deal with a lot of smart people. They kind of inject their sense on top of you. So I think we're all very happy working with him. Yeah.
Sounds like it. Yeah, well, we certainly were. So.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's been a real pleasure talking to you guys, and really appreciate you coming out and doing this. Yeah, and I think a lot of people appreciate seeing this. Out there, and I guess maybe it's worth also saying thanks to Greg, who couldn't be here today, and he gave us all this stuff here to kind of sort through.
I think if you want some older history, you might still want to get him on the.
Someday we might get Greg on something like this
he will
too.
know some more stuff.
Oh yeah,
from a slightly different perspective, but he will.
He has good stories.
Yeah. Nice one. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.